Imagine this, you're sitting in a cafe, alone, but not lonely, or at least that's what you tell yourself. A cappuccino rests in front of you, untouched, slowly losing its warmth like a memory you no longer fight to hold on to. Around you, faces blur into a quiet symphony of artificial connection, smiles that don't reach the eyes, laughter cut short by a glance at glowing screens. Conversations orbit trivialities, weather forecasts, celebrity gossip, TikTok trends, the next item on the to-do list. And beneath it all, a deafening silence presses against your ribs, something you can't name but feel like a weight lodged in your lungs. You inhale deeply, not because the air is fresh, but because you're trying to remember the last time you felt alive. Not functional, not entertained, not occupied, but alive. When was the last time the world didn't feel like a loop? A cycle of scrolling, surviving, pretending, performing. The question creeps in like fog, is this it? You wake up, you work, you scroll, you sleep, you repeat. Life becomes a slideshow of filtered moments, curated identities, safe emotions. You feel too much and nothing at once. And in this quiet, crushing paradox, you begin to sense something is deeply wrong, not just with the world, but with the way you exist within it. This isn't depression, exactly. It's not quite apathy either. It's a kind of numbing, a silent corrosion of the soul. You smile when you're supposed to. You laugh on cue. You say, I'm good, with conviction, even when you feel like a ghost operating a human machine. And here's the irony, you're not alone in this. Millions walk through life anesthetized, drowning in stimulation but starving for meaning. We've mastered distraction. We're artisans of avoidance. We carry our trauma in our backs, our dreams in our phones, and our truths buried under layers of politeness, productivity, and prescribed optimism. You ever wonder how it got this way? How a world with more connection than ever could leave you feeling so unseen? How a society obsessed with self-care could leave you so utterly hollow? How a generation that preaches authenticity can't look in the mirror without flinching? It's as if we've traded the rawness of being human for the safety of being numb. And maybe we have. Because it's easier to be numb than to feel. Easier to conform than to confront. Easier to scroll than to sit in silence with the questions that keep you awake at night. Questions like, who am I beneath all this noise? Why do I feel like a stranger in my own life? What am I chasing, and who told me it was worth it? If I stopped running, what would catch up to me? There's a kind of existential fatigue that creeps in when your soul knows it was made for something more, but the world keeps handing you less. Shiny distractions, quick fixes, motivational quotes that sound profound but dissolve under scrutiny. And the more you try to numb the ache, the more it grows, quietly, invisibly, patiently. You might call it burnout, or disillusionment, or soul sickness, but underneath all those labels is something much deeper. A fracture in our way of being, a quiet violence that begins the moment we start measuring our worth by how useful, attractive, agreeable, or successful we appear to others. A severing of the self, not by accident, but by design. You didn't choose this numbness. It was taught to you, and now you carry it like a second skin. One you can't seem to shed, even when the mirror begs you to, even when your own reflection feels like a mask. So, what now? What do you do when existence becomes a performance? When truth feels like a liability? When the weight of being conscious in a world that values convenience over depth becomes unbearable? Do you keep going, smiling, scrolling, surviving? Or do you stop? Do you let the silence speak? Do you begin to unearth the question beneath all questions? What does it mean to be truly alive in a world that sedates the soul? We are about to go deeper, much deeper, into the roots of the numbness, into the hidden architecture of the modern psyche, into the ancient forces that trained us to be spectators of our own lives. You felt the weight. Now it's time to understand it. You weren't born numb. You were born screaming, raw, aware, unfiltered. Your first act in this world was to feel everything at once. Hunger, cold, light, touch, no mask, no persona, just presence, a body unguarded, a mind unprogrammed, a soul unshaped by expectations. And then the world began its work. It didn't come for you with violence, it came with reward systems. Smiles for being polite, gold stars for obedience, likes for curated joy. You learned, slowly but precisely, which parts of yourself were safe to show and which had to be buried to belong. Carl Jung called this process the creation of the persona, the social mask we wear to navigate collective life. He warned that the more we identify with this mask, the more we risk losing the truth of who we are. The cost of social belonging, he said, is often spiritual exile. The numbness begins there, not as absence, but as denial. The denial of discomfort, the denial of darkness, the denial of the inconvenient, messy truths that don't fit into the grid of modern living. But this fragmentation doesn't happen in a vacuum. Our very systems, educational, economic, cultural, are designed to mold individuals into efficient, predictable, marketable units. You are trained not to be whole, but to be useful, not to feel deeply, but to perform convincingly. Schopenhauer once said, "We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people." And in a world obsessed with comfort, speed, and surface-level validation, this sacrifice is not only normalized, it's rewarded. Look at modern culture. You're constantly encouraged to be yourself, but only if that self is palatable, profitable, and polished. Be unique, but not too different. Be authentic, but stay on brand. Speak your truth, but don't make others uncomfortable. The result? A split psyche, a self caught between truth and acceptance. And this split is exhausting. It breeds a low-grade existential fatigue, like a background hum you can't turn off. It's not loud enough to make you scream, but it's constant enough to keep you from sleeping deeply at night. Jean-Paul Sartre called this mauvaise foi, bad faith, a state of self-deception where one denies their own freedom and agency to conform to roles assigned by society. You're not just playing a part, you become the part, and in doing so, you bury your freedom under layers of obligation and illusion. And here's the cruel twist: the more you conform, the more alienated you become, not only from others but from yourself. You begin to fear silence, because in the stillness, the real you stirs, the one you've been avoiding, the one that remembers what it means to feel. We have, collectively, pathologized pain and glorified numbness. Aldous Huxley foresaw this in Brave New World, a society not governed by tyranny, but by pleasure. A world where people were pacified by comfort, controlled not by fear, but by distraction. It was not pain that enslaved them, it was their unwillingness to feel pain that did. Sound familiar? You've been sold a dream of happiness that depends on denial. Denial of aging, denial of death, denial of solitude, denial of discomfort, boredom, uncertainty. But these things, these messy, unwanted, uncontrollable things, are the soil of aliveness. Without them, you are not truly living. You're just managing your decay. Think about it. Why is it so difficult to sit alone in a quiet room with nothing but your thoughts? Why does stillness feel like a threat? Why do you reach for your phone the moment life pauses? It's not because you're lazy. It's because something deeper inside you has been conditioned to distrust presence, to avoid rawness, to flee the interior world. Viktor Frankl, who survived the concentration camps and witnessed humanity at its lowest, said that suffering ceases to be suffering the moment it finds meaning. But in today's world, suffering is seen as a glitch, something to eliminate, suppress, or medicate. We've lost the sacredness of discomfort, the wisdom it carries, the initiation it offers, and so we drift. We build lives around avoidance. We chase experiences that distract but never satisfy. We seek connection, but settle for attention. We yearn for purpose, but cling to productivity. All the while, the deeper self, the one that remembers what it means to be whole, grows quiet. We don't kill our souls outright. We just silence them, little by little, for the sake of convenience. But the silence is not empty. It is echoing. There's something inside you that knows this world of numbing comfort is a trap. That the anxiety, the boredom, the fatigue, the sense of being elsewhere in your own life, it's not random. It's a signal, a protest, a quiet revolt from the part of you that refuses to be anesthetized. And that part of you is still alive, still fighting, because even in a world that trains you to forget, something remembers. So what happens when you keep ignoring it? When the numbness becomes normalized? When the quiet revolt inside you turns into resignation? You'll see, the soul doesn't disappear, it distorts. And the consequences aren't just emotional, they're societal, structural, invisible, but everywhere. You've felt the weight. You now know where it begins. But the damage is deeper still. It doesn't look like a crisis. Not at first. It looks like a late-night binge of endless scrolling, eyes glazed over. It looks like a to-do list completed with no real sense of accomplishment. It looks like someone surrounded by friends, smiling in group photos, then staring at the ceiling alone at night wondering why the emptiness never leaves. But that's the thing about numbness. It doesn't scream. It seeps. It seeps into your thoughts, your choices, your relationships. It camouflages itself inside the acceptable, inside what society applauds. High productivity, constant availability, polite conversations, pleasant smiles. But beneath that mask, something else is happening, a slow, quiet erosion of meaning. And this erosion doesn't just affect individuals, it reshapes entire societies. You see it in the epidemic of distraction. A mind that has lost its tolerance for silence is a mind that can no longer hear itself think. Our culture now thrives on interruption. Notifications, updates, alerts. It's a perpetual assault on attention. And attention, as psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi once argued, is the most precious form of consciousness. When it's hijacked, so is your identity. And when your attention is fractured, so is your ability to reflect, to confront, to wonder, to feel. The brain, flooded with novelty, becomes numb to depth. A dopamine-sickened cycle begins, one that trades lasting satisfaction for shallow stimulation. And the more we feed it, the less alive we feel. It's not just personal, it's systemic. Our economy is built on numbing. Think about it, advertising doesn't sell products. It sells relief. Relief from inadequacy, from loneliness, from boredom, from fear. Every ad whispers the same message in different costumes: you are not enough. But this will help. And so, we consume, not out of need, but out of ache. We buy identities, we subscribe to distractions, we chase momentary highs, likes, purchases, achievements, just to stave off the low hum of despair that waits in the silence. But it's not just economics, it's politics, too. A population that is numb is easier to manage. Outrage cycles replace action, misinformation replaces inquiry, tribalism replaces nuance. Because numbness doesn't just kill empathy, it breeds apathy. And apathy is fertile soil for control. The philosopher Byung-Chul Han writes of the burnout society, a world where people no longer live under external coercion, but internal exhaustion. Where individuals exploit themselves in the name of freedom, mistaking overwork for ambition and overexposure for connection. In such a world, rebellion doesn't look like protest, it looks like silence, withdrawal, detachment. And yet, even this detachment is misunderstood, because it's not born from laziness, it's born from despair, from the sinking realization that no matter how hard you play the game, something essential remains missing. Even the body knows. Chronic fatigue, phantom aches, brain fog, anxiety without object, depression without story. These are not just medical symptoms, they're existential ones. The body, unable to scream through words, begins to speak through dysfunction. Because when the psyche is silenced, the body becomes the last messenger. And this is perhaps the most tragic part, we've normalized it. We tell people to meditate, to do yoga, to journal, but only if it helps them perform better. Even healing has become a productivity tool, even rest has been commodified. And so, the deeper disease remains untouched, the disconnection from self, from meaning, from a reality that cannot be monetized or optimized. And yet, the numbness never stays silent forever. It leaks into your relationships, your art, your capacity to love. Because numb people don't just lose the ability to feel pain, they lose the ability to feel anything deeply, including joy, including wonder, including love. How many conversations have you had that felt hollow? How many moments of beauty did you dismiss because you were too distracted to notice? How many times have you been touched, but didn't really feel it? The numbness steals not just your pain, but your presence. And here's the cruelest part, the longer you're numb, the more you begin to think this is just life, that you're too sensitive, that your soul is too much, that maybe you're broken, that maybe this quiet ache is yours alone. But it's not, it is everywhere. In classrooms where curiosity has been replaced by compliance. In relationships where vulnerability is feared. In offices where people laugh at jokes they don't find funny, just to stay safe. In hospitals where symptoms are treated but stories are ignored. It's in the mother who no longer recognizes herself. The teenager who posts selfies, but can't make eye contact. The artist who no longer creates because the algorithm won't reward it. The employee who climbs ladders to nowhere. And yet, this is not hopelessness. This is the moment before awakening. Because numbness, at its core, is not the end. It is a symptom of disconnection. And disconnection is reversible, but not by doing more, not by chasing harder, not by pretending to be okay. Something deeper must shift, a rupture, a refusal, a rebellion. But to rebel, you must see the cage, you must name it, you must feel the cost of it, not intellectually, but viscerally. You must see how your own life has been shaped by it, subtly but profoundly. And then, something happens. Not all at once, but in flickers, in cracks, in moments where the fog lifts just enough to glimpse what lies beyond the numbness. It's terrifying, it's inconvenient, but it's real. You've seen the roots. You've felt the consequences. And now, something inside you is ready to break the spell. You've felt the ache. You've named the cage. You've rebelled. And now, there's only one thing left, to face the truth that has been waiting for you beneath it all. But this truth, it's not comfortable. It's not poetic. It doesn't pat you on the back or wrap you in warmth. It undoes you. It tears through the illusions you've crafted, even the sacred ones. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It arrives like lightning, like death, like a mirror that no longer flatters. Here it is. You were never supposed to feel okay all the time. The very idea that you should feel happy, stable, and confident 24/7. A lie. A myth sold by those profiting off your discomfort with reality. Existence is not clean. It is raw. It is contradictory. It is the agonizing collision of infinite beauty and unbearable loss, lived moment by moment in a body destined to disappear. And still, here you are, breathing, beating, becoming. The truth you've been avoiding isn't that you're broken, it's that life itself is unbearable and sacred all at once. The ache you feel, it isn't a flaw, it's proof that you're awake. To exist, truly exist, is to suffer with awareness. To know you will lose everything you love. To know your days are numbered. And still choose to love anyway. Still choose to feel anyway. This is what Viktor Frankl meant when he wrote, "What is to give light must endure burning." You are here not to escape the fire, but to walk through it. To become it. Because here's the secret, the weight you feel isn't proof that you're weak. It's proof that you're carrying something real. Numbness was never the enemy. It was a signal, a call, a whisper saying, wake up. Wake up to the tragedy and the triumph of being a conscious creature in a dying world. Wake up to the gift that you didn't ask for, the chance to feel it all before it's gone. You weren't born to chase ease. You were born to bear witness. To scream when it hurts. To laugh when it erupts from your gut like thunder. To weep in awe at a sunset that will never exist again. To sit beside someone in their final breath and know the moment is infinite and fleeting in the same exhale. That's what the numbness tried to shield you from, this unbearable beauty. And this beauty is your burden. And this burden is your gift. So what now? Now you stop trying to be someone else's idea of healed. Now you stop waiting for the pain to leave before you begin. Now you stand in the center of the ache and say, this too is life. And I will live it. Because living doesn't mean feeling good. It means feeling true. It means dancing while grieving. It means loving without certainty. It means creating art that no one may understand, because you need it to make it. It means showing up even when your hands tremble. It means saying, I don't know, and meaning it. It means worshiping the questions instead of worshiping the answers. Living means choosing to feel, again and again and again, even when it hurts, even when it costs, even when it breaks you open. Especially then, because here's the real paradox. You only become whole by letting yourself be broken. And what emerges through that breaking? Not perfection, not a neat narrative, but presence. Radical, terrifying, luminous presence. And from that presence, a quiet knowing arises. You are not here to conquer life. You are here to be consecrated by it. To let grief baptize you in depth. To let wonder resurrect you from despair. To let love ruin your composure and rebuild your heart with trembling hands. This is what it means to live in a world that numbs, to refuse to sleepwalk. To choose, again and again, to stay awake. Even when the world begs you to go back to sleep. So what do you do with this truth? You carry it, you become it, you pass it on, not through sermons, but through presence. You love people in their messiness. You witness pain without rushing to fix it. You laugh louder, you cry deeper, you slow down, you touch the world with reverence, even when it's falling apart. Because you know now, this is it, this moment, this breath, no dress rehearsal, no redo. And if it hurts, it's because it matters. So let it matter. Let the tears matter. Let the ache matter. Let your dreams matter, even if they scare you. Let your life be a testament, not to how well you conformed, but to how deeply you felt. Not to how clean your story was, but to how boldly you let it unfold. Not to how long you lived, but to how awake you were while you lived it. And if you ever forget, because you will, return here. To this knowing, to this rebellion, to this sacred, excruciating, magnificent weight of existing. It is yours. It is heavy, and it is holy. Now carry it like a flame, and set the numb world on fire.